माय यूट्यूब चैनल। तो कैसे हो आप सब? हेलो। तो आज हम इसकी रीडिंग करने जा रहे हैं। सिंपल क्वेश्चन पेपर इकोनॉमिक्स क्लास 12। ठीक है। तो अब आज क्या पढ़ना चाहिए? तो आज हम पढ़ेंगे प्रोडक्शन इलास्टिसिटी, फंक्शन ऑफ प्रोडक्शन, कॉस्ट 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 It is referred to the all expenses incurred by them form of the production of commodity. Cost of function, it is so the functional relationship between output and cost of production. Cost of function is given as it is a rest. Cost is the function of output produced. Production cost, these costs refer to the expenditure incurred by the producer in the process of production. One factor as well as non-factor inputs. Selling cost, the expenditure incurred by the producer in order to promote sales of the commodities, is known as a selling cost. Advertising cost. Implicit cost or cost are self-owned and self-employed resources interested on own capital, rent of a building, etc. Total fixed cost are cost which is not change with the change in the quantity of output. Rent of factory, insurance premium. Total fixed cost curve is straight line parallel axis, indicating the total fixed cost is constant at a level of output, including zero level output. Total variable cost. Total variable cost payment of the variable factor of production is called a variable cost. Wages of temporary labor, cost of raw material, fuel. Total variable cost is logged upward from left to right. With a rise of output, variable cost also rises. High. Total cost is defined as the aggregate of all cost of production at a given level of output. Total cost curve is parallel to variable cost curve as it shows the difference between total cost, total variable cost, which is costed at all levels. By English reading. Hai Suru. English reading by. Average cost, it is the cost of per unit of output produced. It is obtained by the dividing the total cost of the number unit produced. Average cost, total cost upon number of units produced. Average fixed cost is defined as the cost of producing per unit of commodity. It is obtained by individual. Total fixed cost is level of output. The average fixed cost derived from total fixed cost number of units produced. Yeah. Yeah. Average variable cost. Average variable cost is defined as the variable cost producing per unit of a commodity. It is obtained by the dividing total variable cost level of output. Average variable cost is total variable cost of number of produce. You saved showing a behavior decline cost of initial stage and rising eventually. Marginal cost. Marginal cost is defined the addition to the total variable cost and total cost when one or more unit output of produce. Relationship between average cost and marginal cost. Revenue. Revenue. Revenue is the money of payment received from the sale of commodity. Total revenue, it is a defined the total aggregate of proceed of the firm for the sale of a commodity. Average revenue, it is a revenue per unit of output sold. It can be obtained by the dividing total revenue by the quantity sold. Marginal revenue is it is a addition to the total revenue by the sale of additional unit of firm of commodity. The firm of revenue curve is different markets. Firm revenue curve is different market from are given below. It is a perfect competition. Average revenue and marginal revenue constant and equal to each other. Total revenue increase at the constant rate. Revenue curve under monopoly in the monopoly both are curved downward, sloping and inelastic. Total curve is essentially rise but after a maximum point tends to fall. Revenue curve is under monopoly's competition. नहीं supply of price elasticity of supply. Supply it is a refer of quantity of commodity that a seller is willing to sell a different price in a given period of time. Individual supply is of a particular commodity by an individual firm at a different price at the market term into individual supply. Individual supply is a particular commodity by an individual firm at different price in the market term in individual supply. Market supply is a market quantity particular commodity offered to the for sale all the firm at different price of market known as market supply. Supply schedule it is a table of showing various quantities of commodity offered by sale corresponding by possible price of the commodity. Individual supply for presentation of relationship between price and individual supply form are called individual supply schedule. Supply curve is a graphical presentation. Supply schedule is showing various quantity of a commodity offered by sale and different possible price of commodity. Individual supply curve graphical presentation of a relationship between price and individual supply firm is called individual supply curve. Market supply curve is a graphical presentation of relationship between price and market supply of all firm is called market supply curve. Supply function it is a studies of functional relationship between supply of commodity it is a variable determines individual supply function it is a functional relationship between supply by an individual firm of determines. Market supply function it is a studies of functional relationship between supply by all firms and determinants. Determinants of supply the various determinants of factors affecting the supply are on price of commodity, price of related good, number of firm in the industry, goal of the firm, price of factor of production, state of technology, business confidence, government policy. Sister. Assumption of law of supply. There are no change of price of the factor of production. There is no change in the techniques of production. There is no change in goal of firm. There is no change of price of related goods. Investor have a full confidence over business. Causes of operation of law of supply. Profit motive. Change in the number of firm. Reduction in cost stock. Exemption in the law of supply. The law does not apply to the case of agriculture product. This law does not apply in case of goods. This law does not apply. by applying case of antique goods of old stamps coins. This law does not apply the labor of market movement along the supply curve or change of quantity supply. If the quantity supplied increase or decreasing in the response of rise or fall of commodity along assuming other the factor of constant, it is a movement along the supply. Extension of the supply is the quantity supplied rise to the price in a called extension of supply in case of move upward rightward the same simple curve. Construction of supply नहीं लाल नहीं हुआ हुआ दूसरी वाले मल्टीविटामिन का. The construction when the quantity shifted the supply curve is change in the supply shifted. In the supply curve show situation increase of decrease in supply due to the factor of the on price of commodity. Shift in supply curve has been the following two. Increase of supply when supply is commodity increase due to the factor other than price is called increase in supply. In the situation supply curve shifted rightward. Decrease in supply when supply on the commodity decrease due to the factor other than price of called decrease in supply situation. Supply curve is shifted to leftward. Perfectly in elasticity supply when there is no change to quantity is supplied is response to the change in the price. It is now perfect in elasticity supply. Zero elasticity of supply in the condition supply curve is straight line parallel to y-axis. Perfect elasticity supply of the commodity set to perfect inelasticity when the supply extension of contract or to any without any change in the condition supply curve is straight to the parallel x-axis to y-axis. Forms of market. Concept of market may be defined as a arrangement of essential effective relationship between buyer and seller of the commodity. Features of market is commodity is to be bought of the and sold. Buyer and seller is commodity area of buyer and seller meet close contact between buyer and seller. Perfect competition market. It is a form of market where there are large number of buyer and seller of a commodity. Homogeneous product is sold. Control over the price of individual firm and individual buyer. Features of perfect competition. Very large number of buyer and seller. Homogeneous product. Free entry exit. Perfect knowledge. Perfect mobility of factor of production. Absence of transportation cost from the price taker. Percentage factor of affecting elasticity of supply. Nature of input unit. Risk taking. Nature of commodity. Time factor. Techniques of production. Cost of production. Demand curve is perfect competition. Under the perfect competition, demand curve of the firm is elasticity means that it is firm of sale amount commodity at a prevailing price. Firm demand curve is indicated the horizontal strength in a line of parallel world y-axis. Pure competition. It is the market from in which there are large number of buyer and seller of homogeneous products and free entry exit of firm. Monopoly. It is the market situation in which a firm has the sole right over production or sale. The product with no close substitute. Government has monopoly of cable network water supply. Causes responsible embrace of monopoly. Government licensing, patient right, cartels, nature or features of monopoly: single producer of seller, no close substitute, restriction of entry, new firm, full control over price declaration, price maker. Demand curve under monopoly. Under monopoly, under the demand curve slope downward to left and right and straight to the means it is a monopolist desire to the sale of his reduced price of product. However, because its price of product produce has no close substitute. Monopolistic competition, it is a form of the market in which there are many sellers of product, but the product of each seller is same but different that the other firm producing different brands, toothpaste, Colgate, Close-Up, Pepsodent, etc. Features of monopolistic competition: large number of buyer and seller, production determines freedom of entry, exit firm, selling cost, less monopoly, lack of perfect knowledge, non-price competition, partial control over price. Demand curve under monopolistic competition. Demand curve under monopolistic competition is downward the sloping at more elasticity of because the monopolistic competitive market goods and the close substitute. Oligopoly, it is a form of market which there is a big seller of commodity and large number of buyers. Each seller has sufficient significant share of the market. For example, the only a few auto parts producer in the Indian market, Maruti, Tata, Fiat, Ford, or GM, has some well brands name. Oligopoly can be classified oligopoly of the product features of oligopoly. A new firm, large number of buyer, entry barriers, high degree of interdependence, not possible to determine form of demand curve, formation of cartels, non-price of competition. Demand curve under oligopoly firms is demand curve is intermediate under oligopoly because there is a high degree of independence between the firm. Closely oligopoly, it is a form of the market in the which there are a new form of market and all decided avoid competition through a formal agreement. Non-closive oligopoly, it is a form of market in where the are few forms of market and each purchase price of output policy independent of the firm. That is the only reading in English. So subscribe to my YouTube channel. Okay. Thank you so much. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Okay.